Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Seminoles Daily. I am your host, Rob Krause, and today we are going to talk about the quarterback position and Mike Norvell's continued struggles at acquiring that QB1, that gunslinger, that commander of the game, of the field, the guy who is his best representation of him on the field as all coach wants their quarterback to be. But first, would like to continue to thank everybody who has liked and subscribed to these videos, this channel. Please keep sharing it. Please keep commenting. Loving the interactions, loving the suggestions, loving everything we do here at Seminoles Daily. Because look, I love this program, even when they're bad, even when they're terrible. I still love talking about this program and all of the issues that are currently involved with them, which are ample. So, if you're doing a daily content show about Florida State, sometimes, hey, it's pretty good that we have a lot to talk about. In particularly, as Florida State last Friday got some not unexpected, but some distressing news as quarterback target wonderful Mons the fourth, aka Champ, announced on Friday that he will be attending Notre Dame, the Fighting Irish. He made his hard commit to Notre Dame for his services next fall. Now, if you remember our Champ Mons show that we had a couple of weeks ago, a little refresher for you. He is a 6'2", 224, three-star out of the Vero Beach area. He became Florida State's really kind of top target after some guys that Florida State had been looking at had committed elsewhere. So, kind of moving down the ladder, Florida State liked what they saw in Champ Mons, and by all accounts, the vibes were good. The vibes were high. He had good rapport with the staff. He very much loved his visit, loved his time with FSU, kind of was, glad that Florida State was really seemingly making him a top priority, which he liked. But we did suggest in that video that there were going to be a couple of other teams to keep an eye on, one of them being Ohio State, but we weren't too worried about Ohio State given they had already have a quarterback in their class for next year. But the other one that we did say keep an eye on as they were just kind of coming in late to the party was Notre Dame. For Notre Dame does have currently as it stands a much more wealthier, broader, and elite program than FSU to attract kind of the talent it needs. It has also been making a very concerted effort to come into the state of Florida and get some good ball players because, look, that's where the talent's going to be compared to Indiana. But as we mentioned, that also kind of an issue that seems to historically plague Mike Norvell in Florida State is that they seem to get in early on guys. And then once those guys kind of start getting, found out a little more national profile, Florida State kind of gets pushed to the back burner, which is very much kind of what the case could be here with Champ Mons. Now, again, it is a commit. It's a hard commit, but it's still a commit. It's a verbal agreement. There is no dotted line signature till we come to December. So, Florida State, probably in their best interest to keep recruiting the kid, keep calling him, keep contacting him, keep getting in his face, keep relying on whatever relationship that you had with this kid before he committed to kind of keep that line of communication open because who knows, maybe somebody else that Notre Dame was interested becomes available and all of a sudden Notre Dame likes that kid a little more and then they commit, then that kid commits and then Champ Mons says, well, I want to be the only quarterback in this class. I'm gonna go elsewhere. I'm gonna go back to Tallahassee. That's kind of the nature of the recruiting game right now. For every program is, especially at the quarterback position, is there's really only room for one alpha, one line, as we talk about, and maybe just maybe that you keep this communication open, and you never know what happens in December. That maybe he does decide that hey, I'd rather stay close to home. I'd rather stay here than go fly up to Indiana and play football. So a lot can happen. The point being, from now until December, but in the meantime, that means Florida State is going to try to maybe look for some other options, including their plan C that we had talked about before. One, Logan Flaherty. If you're not familiar with Logan Flaherty, he is a three-star quarterback out of the Port Charlotte area. He was the 39th quarterback, the 67th overall player in the state of Florida. He did have an unofficial visit to Tallahassee on March 13th and really seemed to kind of like what the Noles were doing. He was originally hard committed to UFC. Again, as we talk UFC, yeah, he was going to go for Dana White, play for Dana White at UFC University. No, UCF. He had originally had a kind of a hard commit there, but again, he had reopened up his commitment, decided to decommit to the Knights, and Florida State all of a sudden is looking, trending a little bit better coming in the fold here. Um, because again, as we're saying, that's what tends to happen with these guys. They commit and they decommit, and things get wide open. Strong arm, good mobility for this young man. Once again, though, as I had mentioned last time, Florida State is not going to be the only program that is vying for this kid's services. New Jersey Rutgers, that's right. The State University of New Jersey, Greg Schiano, a Florida guy, a Jersey, Florida guy in his heart, we could say, as he's pretty much only coached in 2 states besides this time at PSU. He has really kind of put the pressure on Flaherty as well. Really likes what he sees in that kid, has been spending a lot of time communicating with Logan Flaherty. So Florida State is going to expect them to, ramp up the pressure, really start getting this kid on the campus, try to maybe get him at one of the weekends, late May, early June, get him a good look to continue to hopefully impress and hopefully sign a quarterback this class. Because if not for Logan Flaherty, Florida State is going to continue to look for other options. One of those being, we're going to call the kind of quote their quote Plan D, Kevin Verpale. That's a hard last name to pronounce. I hope I'm not butchering it. He is a 3-star quarterback out of Merritt Island, Florida, the 491st player in America, the 29th quarterback. Currently is committed to Pitt and Cade Bell. And if you're not familiar with Cade Bell is a very talented, up and coming offensive coordinator for the Panthers, who, if you remember the game with Florida State last year, pretty much decimated your defense. Let's be honest. Cade Bell could do no wrong in his game planning and his game calling. And he has done a tremendous job with the young quarterbacks there. Eli Holstein, but then he moved over to Hirschfeld, not Hirschfeld. Um, I'm drawing a blank. Somebody in the comments will help me with that. Pitt's dynamic young freshman quarterback who had a very great year, very good year for the Panthers this year, was just eating you up all over the field last October, a lot of in the middle. Point being, Cade Bell is a very talented up-and-comer, to the point that Florida State had expressed some interest in Cade coming and taking the OC job after Gus had resigned. Unfortunately for Florida State, smartly for Pitt and Cade, he decided, I'm going to stick around here, see what I can continue to do over there in Western PA, because I think Pitt is poised for probably another good season next year, and then another good season next year. Cade Bell is going to easily be a hot commodity for taking over his own program, especially given the way his offense has worked. Now, as Florida State and Kevin has looked, I know that Austin Tucker recently went to take a visit to watch this young man throw. He has not shut down his recruitment. If that's anything, yes, he's hard commit to Pitt, but these guys will say like, yeah, it's a hard commit. I'm shutting it down. Do not contact me. Do not bother me. If I could sign tomorrow, I would. This young man has not done that. This young man is, kind of keeping the options open, liking to say, hey, look, I like what I'm doing here, what I could be doing at Pitt, but there's a pretty good chance that, who knows, man, maybe somebody else comes along and gives me something more attractive. Cough NIL, cough more money is normally what this thing truly entails. But I do like the idea of Florida State kind of keeping all options open and turning over all rocks, as they're really going to have to do, because you really would like, at the very least, one quarterback in this class, for no other reason than, who knows what will happen with Mike Norvell in the next foreseeable future. But at the very least, the new coach wouldn't be, coming in to a completely barren room, or a completely, no, stopgap measures necessarily needed. But that's kind of brings me to our last issue about Mike Norvell and this position, because, as we have said before, it has been arguably his biggest bugaboo. And I talked about the realistic optimism yesterday. I know people are going to say, "Well, what's the realistic optimist take, Rob? You're trying to be the optimist. What is it?" I don't really have one in this case, and I really would like to. I really would like to tell you that, oh, Mons is, listen, he's committed now, but trust me, once Florida State gets it together, gets the package together, gives him a call, he's going to flip back. He's going to sign with Tallahassee. Probably not going to happen. And I would like to tell you that Logan Flaherty and Kevin Verpele are elite diamonds in the rough, and they're going to come in and be those guys, but they're not, because the truth of the matter is, really, all of these guys are just going to be kind of high level project type of players, because that's unfortunately where you are as a program, particularly at this position. There is no real great track record of Mike Norvell signing a kid, developing a kid, and putting that kid into the NFL in the last 7 years. Now you can make the optimistic approach would be that this is modern college football, and more often than not, given the fact that there's only one quarterback on the team that can start at a time, that it really is more of a situation where you should build out the rest of the team, and then you maybe pluck a kid out of the portal, which Mike Norvell has done the last few years. The problem is, or Miami has done to some pretty good success the last 2 years, or other programs. The problem is, you're Florida State right now, and you don't particularly fill out the roster very well at any other spot. Okay, let's be real. You're not exactly a quarterback in the transfer portal looking at this program isn't exactly going to be enamored and impressed with his offensive line, his tackles, tight ends, his wide receivers, the running back. Yeah, there's some guys who can play, but if you are a quarterback in the transfer portal and you're looking to make a big splash and impress and maybe get like a nice little 1 year bump and head to the league, it's really exactly the offense that you're looking at right now. It's not exactly the talented, deep filled elite stud roster and chalking up wins. It's going to get you playoff run, playoff appearances, and all that stuff that the NFL is very much impressed with. Also, it's not particularly a great offense that showcases your arm. Mike Norvell traditionally in his offense loves to run the football, and passing wise tends to be a lot of sideline to sideline and over the middle stuff. The deep stuff isn't really there, and unfortunately, it's not exactly like Mike Norvell has a high reputation for great passing concepts and passing game know it all. He kind of made his bones as a running game guy, and that's not always going to be attractive when you're trying to get quarterbacks and kids to sign at Florida State. And again, the realistic approach in me tells you that if Mike Norvell is not here in after the October bye, or he's not here after November 1st, or before the Florida game, or even after the Florida game, the truth of the matter is that when Mike Norvell looks at it, just we're going to talk about the high school recruiting being the big factor, but the number one is going to be the fact that he has missed several times on getting good quarterbacks, elite quarterbacks, and the quarterbacks he does get, the Chubba Purdy's, the Luke Cromenhokes, the AJ Duffys, all those guys eventually all transferred out because Mike did not know how to tailor make or keep the offense in their favor and build around it and establish a core and a team around him. Now, some of that is a little bit maybe out of Mike's control in this NIL game, as far as financial contributions and the financial issues that Florida State faces. That will be a whole other several week long conversation in the summer about that, as far as I'm concerned with that stuff. But ultimately, it's still on the head coach to be that guy that can go into Champ Mons and say, "Hey man, you come with me, come here, and I guarantee you in 3 years you are a first round draft pick. You are thrown to a first round draft pick. You are handing off to a first round draft pick." These are the things that quarterbacks want to see and hear from their head coach when they are getting recruited. Marcus Freeman can tell you, he can say, "Look, man, I just put a first round NFL running back in. Okay. We go to the playoffs pretty much almost every year. We're winning 10 games. We're playing nationally televised games every week. We're Notre Dame. I've got the package. I've got the money. I've got the financial and booster support. I got all those things that make a guy like Champ Mons want to leave Florida and head up north to Indiana to go play for Notre Dame. So those are things that we'll continue to talk about here on Seminoles Daily as the days and weeks go on. So in recap, again, Champ Mons decided last Friday that he is going to pledge his commitment to Notre Dame. Other guys to look for Florida State as they move on: Logan Flaherty out of Port Charlotte, Florida; Kevin Verpaley out of Merritt Island, Florida. A couple guys at Florida State is in the process of talking to. Haven't really thrown an offer their way last we've seen, but something to keep an eye out. And again, Mike continues to have issues with developing the quarterback position, recruiting it, signing it, building around it, and that's ultimately going to be his downfall should he not continue to be the head coach here at Florida State. So happy Tuesday, everybody. Hope everybody has a good kind of middle of their week here as we're getting into the deep part of May. The early to mid part of May. Summer's around the corner. Lots of good stuff to talk about the next couple of days and weeks here at Seminoles Daily. I want to thank everybody again who continues to like and subscribe and follow this page as we continue to build Seminoles Daily into your premier #1 daily FSU content show. Thanks, everybody, and I will talk to you tomorrow.